The opinions expressed in the Brothers-in-Law show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal professional legal advice.
Thanks for tuning in to Brothers-in-Law on Go Country 105. I'm Larry Mandel.
And I'm Rob Mandel.
And we've been trial attorneys here in Los Angeles for over 40 years.
On our show, we will discuss current events, talk about legal issues, and have some very entertaining guests stop by. So stay tuned every week for Brothers-in-Law right here on Go Country 105.
Good morning, everyone. We are the Brothers-in-Law. I'm Larry Mandel.
I'm Rob Mandel.
And this is our Zoom edition. Hey, we want to give a big thank you to all of our listeners. And hey, Rob, how you feeling this morning?
Pretty good, all things considered. It's a beautiful day out there, and just all the weird stuff, though. You know, I want to go outside, but I feel a little weird about it, you know.
Yeah. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today, and how to protect yourself.
Yeah.
But, before we get there,
thank you for reminding me. We want to talk about what we've been doing to encourage people to call in and nominate folks in the community that are just going above and beyond right now. And it's hard to do, isn't it, Larry? It can be hard, right?
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
There are people out there that are doing it.
They're doing it. And so I think we got a message from someone who called in to nominate someone who is doing great work right now. Let's take a listen.
This is Sarah Henniger. I am nominating my son, Eric Henniger, 42-year-old high school computer science teacher who back in March came up with a simple idea to make a hospital face shield using a 3D printer. He did that, created a website, and got over 100 volunteers to join him, and they've donated almost 30,000 hospital face shields that are made from a 3D printer with attached plastic sheeting. He's a wonderful young man, and he needs acknowledged. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic. Really? Hey, producer Cam, do we have Eric Henniger on the line right now?
I have Eric on the line.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, Eric, it's Larry and Rob Mandel.
Well, thank you very much.
Hey, we hear some good things about you from your mom. I guess no surprise there, right?
Yeah, she loves bragging about me whenever she can.
Yeah. but this is pretty incredible. So tell us what you're doing. Do you have a name for this project or your company that you're making all these hospital masks or face shields, I should say?
Yeah, the group that I started, we're in Orange County, so we're called OC3D PPE for 3D printing personal protective equipment.
Nice.
And I started it kind of on my own, and luckily I had someone who I worked with in the past. Once I kind of made it public that I was doing this, and she said, "Hey, let's get this organized a little bit. Let me take care of some of the taking orders and everything." And so from there, we just built a group of over 125 people, and just started cranking out as many as we could.
Wow, that is something else.
How long does it take you, Eric, to make one mask?
One of them on one 3D printer is about a half hour, maybe 40 minutes.
Really? And these are like the clear plastic shields, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, we 3D print a frame then a basic plastic binding cover from a office supply store with some holes punched in it. Fits onto that frame and sits on your head pretty easy. It's nice and lightweight, and it's quick and it gets the job done.
Wow, and this has been proven to help prevent these healthcare workers from getting the virus.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just one extra layer. So they still have their mask and everything, but this helps to keep things out of their eyes and things like that. And then also it keeps everything off of their mask as well, so that they're not, because initially they were wearing that mask all day long, the same one. They were able to change them. And so this kept, as much stuff off of that mask as possible as well.
Fantastic. What a great work you're doing. And you're doing this, you're donating all of these?
Yes, they were. They were all donated. The demand is almost completely gone because all the regular suppliers have kind of gotten back up to speed, which is good. But we gave over 32,000, and I'm making one last big delivery to a local hospital today, and then I think we're just about done, unless of course a big need arises again.
Fantastic.
32,000. You are a hero.
Saving 32,000 lives, really, if you think about it, Larry, huh?
Gosh.
Wow, Eric Henninger, that's amazing, man. So listen, we're going to acknowledge your courage and your what you're doing out there with some gift certificates to Whole Foods. I hope that helps you out. And that's one of our sponsors for helping folks in the community right now. Does that sound okay?
Absolutely, yeah. We love Whole Foods.
Yeah, you sound like a Whole Foods guy. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, wonderful. Hey, thanks for coming on the show, and thank you so much for what you're doing out there, Eric.
Well, thank you, guys. It means a lot to me to have some people recognize it. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mehdi. All right.
All right.
Hey, Rob,
Take care.
isn't it great that we have people out there that are doing these kind of things? You know,
It's fantastic. It makes me feel lazy, It makes me feel like, what am I doing?
well, you're on the radio right now. That's what
I'm on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get out the message on a couple of things, including, with our special guests. And before we talk to her, just want to talk a little bit about, the COVID pandemic and how it's affecting us. And many state and local leaders are beginning to mandate the use of face masks. We were talking about face shields, and now we're talking about face masks to help curb the spread of the virus.
Right.
And through the debate, we're getting this thing of, I don't want to wear a mask. I've got my constitutional freedom.
Oh, boy.
And you got to protect everyone. I'm protecting somebody else.
Yeah. Well, why is that a problem? I don't get that personally. I understand it's an inconvenient thing. It's a little weird. It's hard. But I personally, I don't understand why that's a big deal, just to keep the other guy safe.
I mean, but before this whole thing, I would see some people wearing a mask, and I thought, that is so weird.
You think they were all paranoid? What's wrong with that person?
Now it's just
now there's a deadly virus floating around, and it comes right out of one person, goes to another. So, but there is obviously a psychology to the resistance to wear these masks, and here to help us understand that and break it all down for us is Kati Morton. She is a mental health YouTuber with almost 1 million subscribers. Hello, Kati. Welcome to our show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, Kati. You also are the author of Are You Okay? A mental health guide for the millennials.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
That's got to be a fill a library right there. It's got to be volumes.
For the millennials. Why is
As
it
a father of millennials, I should say.
And so, Kati, how does it target the millennials?
Mental health issues, you mean?
Well, no, you Are You Okay? The book itself.
Oh, it's really, I've been on YouTube. I'm a licensed therapist, and I've been on YouTube for 8.5 years, just talking to people about mental health issues. And so I think more than ever, the millennials, the great thing about them is that they talk about it more than my generation, more than my parents' generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really just kind of a simple guide meeting you where you're at. I don't use a lot of like psychobabble or any terminology that people don't understand. I try to make it very clear, direct. Everything from how to find a therapist, what's a good therapist, bad therapist, what is a therapist or a psychologist, what's the difference, all that stuff. So kind of just a beginner's guide, hopefully to help them, wherever they're at in that process.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you are a therapist. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I've been practicing. Oh God, I'm 36. So I'm not good at math. That's not my strong suit. It's psychology.
Okay. All right.
But I've been practicing for a long time. My specialties lie in eating disorders and self-injury work. That's what I see in my private practice.
Okay.
But as we know, nothing happens in a vacuum. So over the years, I have patients who struggle with depression, anxiety, anything like that.
We're Larry and Rob Mandel, the brothers-in-law, here on Go Country 105. Do you have a legal issue you need help with? We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and send us a message. Then tune in on Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105.
Do you need help feeding your family right now? We all know that schools are closed, and some kids rely on free or reduced price meals at school. Visit fns.usda.gov/meals4kids to find a grab-and-go meal center near you. They are offering 2 grab-and-go meals for kids. Again, please visit www.fns.usda.gov/meals4kids. 4 is the number 4. And let's make sure all the kids are fed.
Tell us what is the background, or what do you have to do to become now you are a licensed marriage and family therapist, is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
So what do you have to do? What is the process to become what you are?
First, you get your undergraduate degree, 4 years, majoring in psychology. Then you go and get your master's, which is a 2-year degree on top of that. And then because I'm in the state of California, once you've graduated from graduate school, you have to accumulate 3,000 hours towards your licensure.
3,000?
3,000.
Yes. How the heck do you do that? Boy.
By working a lot of jobs.
Yeah. My goodness. I had no idea.
Yeah. And then we have to take our licensing exam, and then ta-da, a short 5 years later.
Wow. Wonderful.
So, Katie, you're targeting the mask dilemma right now to some extent, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and how you're having this ongoing discussion.
Yeah, there's a couple of points. I think the first is our natural, I call it like the inner teenager. We all have an inner teenager, and they don't like to be told what to do.
That's so true.
And so a lot of times when we're told to do something, our immediate reaction is, why? No, I don't want to. Okay. And so I think we see that, and especially we see that, I mean, unfortunately on social media where people talk to one another, like, how come you're not doing it? Like, kind of sometimes aggressive, sometimes not. But we definitely see that pushback. So I think that in and of itself, from my perspective, is the biggest problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like my brother was late the other day, and I was saying, hey, you hurry up. And he said, don't tell me what to do. That's kind of like that inner teenager thing, right?
Totally. It's like, as
Come
a
on,
toddler,
Larry, you know I'm telling the truth.
You are.
You know, you stomp your feet.
Yeah. I stomp my feet. I shook my hand.
Yep. Yeah.
So do you think that's what it boils down to, is that some of us have a stronger inner teenager than others?
That's just one component. Another that I think more and more we'll start to see, and even personally I felt it, is because we know that we're in our stress response. So what our stress response is that fight flight response.
Yeah.
Because we're scared, right? Rightfully so. I'm not a scientist or a virologist. Every time I turn on the news, I'm overwhelmed. It's scary. I don't understand. More and more people in my life are catching it, getting sick. It's very scary.
Yeah.
And so being in that stress response, usually it's supposed to be short-lived, right? Oh my God, there's a person coming at me. I'm afraid. I run away. Boom. Right. Action. I'm done. I take a breath. We're good. But this is an invisible enemy. You can't really run from it. We don't know how to fight it necessarily, other than wearing masks, right? Yeah. And so I think because we're caught in that fight flight response for a long period of time, what ends up coming out of that is a lot of agitation.
Yeah.
And so I think that like agitates that inner teenager, right? That toddler in us wants to throw a tantrum. I'm not comfortable. I don't like this. And not to mention the grief we can feel, right? Our quote unquote normal life isn't
so
here.
True.
There's just a lot. Honestly, there's so much at play. And then there's the added component of people trying to make it a political thing when it's really just a science thing. I don't care.
Tell us about that. Can you give us a little more insight on that one?
Yeah, I think people are, a lot of what's happening online is very divisive, right? It's us versus them. Which side are you on when it's really us together, all of us? I think that unfortunately social media has given a lot of power to what I would call like cancel culture, or just shouting people down.
Yeah.
And I totally believe in the freedom of speech, but I don't believe in like a megaphone. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that you don't have a right to talk.
That's true.
And that kind of aggressive behavior has forced people into, you're either with us or against us. You're either pro-mask or anti-mask. They take every issue and divide it, when I believe when it comes to the health and safety of all of us, we should all be more than happy to be slightly inconvenienced with having to wear a mask. It actually has nothing to do with Republican, Democrat. I believe in this. I don't believe in that. I've been personally just sticking to the science, reading what they found. And so that's it.
Let's say you got somebody right now. I'm sorry, Larry, did I step on you?
That's all right, though. But I'll say one thing, but hold your thought, Rob. I mean, it's more of just a common sense approach at this point.
Yes.
And it is bothersome because I'll see on the news or whatever, where somebody is challenged about wearing a mask, and they just, man or woman, just explodes. They go ape.
Yes.
And how do we deal with
Start throwing stuff around the store.
Yeah.
I know. Did you see that lady throwing stuff out of her grocery cart?
Yeah.
And like, what? Okay, all right.
All right, let's take that lady for a moment. Okay. I think we're all talking about the same gal, younger woman, and they let her into. Now, this was the crazy part. They let her into the store without the mask. She does a full load of loading up her basket and whatnot, probably in the store 15, 20 minutes. And when she gets to the checkout stand, they tell her, you got to wear a mask or we're not going to let you check out. I thought that would piss me off too.
Yeah.
Hey, can I say that word on the radio? That would make me mad too.
I'm going to allow you to.
And big breath. Because what they should have done is just said, hey, you can't even come in without the mask. We have extra masks right here. Here you go. You got to make it a little more friendly and easy for people to get over their resistance, if you ask me.
Have you suffered or been injured by someone else's negligence? When you need a legal team that will stand up for what is right, won't give up the fight and obtain justice, call 818-886-6600. Mandel Trial Lawyers specializes in personal injury cases of all types. Whether it's a car accident, product or premises liability, dog bite, or a catastrophic injury, Mandel Trial Lawyers are there for you when the fight is worth it. Call now for your free consultation. 818-886-6600. Let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
Hey folks, do you want to volunteer to help out during the crisis? The Red Cross still needs volunteers in a variety of capacities during COVID-19. Volunteer opportunities include supporting blood donations and delivering much-needed services to your community. They even have a wide variety of remote work-from-home opportunities available. Go to redcross.org/volunteer to sign up. That's redcross.org/volunteer. Hey, if you missed any part of this show or you just want to hear it again, go to brothersonlaw.com for all of our previous shows and all things Brothers on Law.
So with that in mind, Katie, what suggestions do you have as a therapist?
Yeah, you're talking to her right now.
Yeah. I think part of it is just diffusing the situation. A lot of people get really angry, and I know any of our essential workers are probably exhausted from having to have these conversations and be the ones that have to say it. But I think a lot of times it's just I know it's understanding their perspective. So you come in with I know this is uncomfortable. I know this is weird. We're all in a stressful time, but just it's part of our rules now that we have to put the mask on. And they should have stopped her before she got into the store. And when I saw that video, it looked like she had a mask in her hand. So I was like, I don't understand what the... Yeah. But I think a lot of people just feel attacked, and we're in that fight or flight. And a lot of people are choosing fight. And she clearly went into that. And so I think part of it is just like, hey, I understand. I hear you. This is frustrating. This is scary. It's stressful. Who knows if she lost her job or what's going on, right? There's so many things going on with people nowadays. So I think just coming at it from hey, I see you, I hear you. Unfortunately, because of what's happening, the requirement of the store or, for other people's safety, just put it on for a couple minutes. You could take it back off when you get outside. It's kind of just that reason.
Yeah. She said she had a medical condition. That was part of her...
Oh, there's a lady that said that too. I have heard from some of my patients and viewers that if they struggle with panic attacks or anxiety, having to put a mask over their face can be very triggering.
Like claustrophobia kind of thing?
Yes, exactly.
I can see that.
Me too. And
But that is a tough one because, Larry, we didn't hear you. Say that again.
I said, how do you handle that, Katie?
I think part of it is making sure you're getting regular appointments with your treatment team, your therapist, and if you don't have to go out in a public place where you have to have your mask on for more than a few minutes, don't do it. Have somebody else go. This is a time to utilize friends and family that can support one another. Reach out, say, I can't go to the grocery store because 30 minutes is too long for me to be in a mask, but I can walk out and maybe pick up food. I can do takeout. I can walk in with it on and walk out and be, just knowing your limits and, helping each other out.
That sounds good. So, Katie, I know you're a therapist. You're not a medical doctor, but what do you understand the science of wearing a mask and why it is helpful and why it contributes to stopping the spread of the virus?
Yes, I like I said, I've been sticking with the science myself. So as much as I can understand, I've been reading articles and research studies. Yeah. And from what I understand, again, I'm not a medical doctor, but is that more than we'd realized initially, COVID-19 is airborne. It lives in essentially the spit, which we don't realize is coming out when we talk. Anytime we force breath out of our mouth, it's in there. And so if we have it and we don't know, if we're in let's say a restaurant for an hour without a mask on, we can contaminate that entire restaurant. Wow. And if there's no air circulation, which we're in California, almost everybody, thank God, has central air. But you still have to consider that. And so if we have a mask, the likelihood of those, that moisture in our breath getting out is less likely. It's not 100%, but if you're wearing a mask and I'm wearing a mask, the chances of us exchanging any of that virus is much, much lower. Right.
And what I've heard is if you're outdoors, then the virus that moisture that, as you explained, that comes out of you when you talk or laugh or whatnot, that will dissipate very quickly. But if you're indoors, like you say, where there's very little or no air circulation, it will hover in the air for a long time, for many seconds. And so it's so much easier to transmit at that point.
Yeah. And that's what they said. They're learning more and more about how long it can stay in the air. Some people say, some studies show 5 minutes, 8 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So we have to just be aware. And again, new studies are coming out all the time. And I think that's why the conversations just need to be had in a compassionate way. Because I've also heard from a lot of my viewers, I don't know if I have to wear a mask or not. I don't understand, right? Is it in the air? A lot of people don't know because, it can be hard to understand that kind of information. You can get two sides because people are trying to politicize it. It's more about, what do we know? How can we help ourselves and others? And right now, that's wearing a mask.
Wow. Yeah. And if you're outside and you're not wearing a mask, but you're too close, again, I don't want people to think that you can just go outside, right? That's my end. You just can't go outside and see somebody and just get in their face, a foot away. It's still a problem. Right. That's social distancing.
And people are going to do it. It just happens. There's been gatherings, of course, protests and all kinds of stuff like that. And some of the people do. A lot of the people wear masks, but some of them don't. You go to the beach, and there's signs everywhere that says wear a mask. And then, half the people are wearing them, half the people aren't. You just have to be cognizant of the fact that the person with that is not wearing that mask may have the virus, and you got to just stay away, I guess. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I like to use the term physically distanced instead of socially distanced, because I think we can still be social. I know that that's another added component is people feeling alone, which through psychological research, we know that connection with others is actually what helps us feel better and alleviates that stress response most. Yeah. So I think that's why we're having a really tough time. But yes, we do need to distance even when we're in public places. It's not just, just wearing a mask. We want to make sure that we're giving that space for anything that could come out, unless you both have been tested or it's someone in a member of your family, yeah.
I know you're not a medical doctor, as Rob mentioned, but you do have a lot of science behind you. And is there a certain mask that's better than other masks?
Well, there was a research study that came out recently that unfortunately said bandanas are not as effective as the regular face masks. And from what I read, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but it was because it's too loose, like it lets stuff out still. We know that's why they're comfortable, right?
Yeah.
I find them much more comfortable.
Right.
But unfortunately,
and cooler looking, if I may add.
Right? You're like
cooler in the bandana. Yeah.
I bought about 5 or 6 of those things. And now I was thinking, maybe these aren't the best masks.
Right? It's like I finally have a use for all those handkerchiefs of my dad's. They're like bandanas.
Right.
We're Larry and Rob Mandel, the brothers-in-law, here on Go Country 105. Do you have a legal issue you need help with? We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and send us a message. Then tune in on Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105.
From all of us on the Brothers-in-Law Show, we want to give a big thank you to these sponsors who we've partnered with to help honor our local heroes and groups for going above and beyond for their community. We'd like to thank Ralph's, Whole Foods, Target, and Chipotle. Thank you for all you do in our community.
But the ones that you want the ones that pinch on the top of your nose. You need that little bit of metal because again, we're trying to keep the moisture from getting out, and you want it to be tight under your chin. And some of the accordion ones tend to be easier for me because someone's face is bigger or smaller than mine, so it allows for a little bit of wiggle. And then around the ears, some people like, or some people prefer them to go up over their head. I think just finding one that fits your face well is important. There's tons of options out there now too.
Very fashionable ones, if I may say.
Yes.
People have Van Gogh painted on them and, or faces. But it is weird. I think one of the other things you were talking about, we need each other, to feel good. And if you see someone with a mask on and you have a mask on, you're not really seeing that person. You can't see their smile. You can't see their facial expression. How does that affect us?
I think it affects us a lot. I've heard from my audience and even personally how we miss stranger interactions because we don't get those anymore, right? It used to be the nice good mornings and smiles from people that we don't know that I think in a way reminds us of the good in people, reminds us that we're part of something bigger. And of all the times, now's the time we need to remember that because wearing a mask, maybe we're not worried about ourselves, but we need to be worried about everyone else. And so I do think, and I've even heard from some of my audience members who are on the autism spectrum or those with anxiety, they read other people to see how they should respond accordingly, right? And that can be hard in work environments. It can make our anxiety even higher. So I do think that not being able to see our faces is an unfortunate thing. I wish the mask could be clear. That was a thing.
That's a great idea.
We could all wear those shields that Erica Henninger is making.
Yeah, right.
So what also the aspect of not being able to hug or shake hands. I mean,
oh my God, terrible. Hey, what's the best approach then, you think, for Americans to accept masks and facial coverings as perhaps a new normal?
I think part of it is allowing yourself to grieve. I know that sounds weird, but a lot of people feel like, I have to make this decision. I have to just do it. I'm just doing it. But it's okay to be bummed about the fact that this is what we're having to do. It's okay to be sad about it. But then consider someone else. Consider the fact that you don't know what's going on in other people's lives. Wouldn't you like to know that someone was protecting you? Let's say you were immune, you had a compromised immune system. Wouldn't you want someone else to consider that so that you don't potentially get really gravely ill? And so I think part of it's just letting yourself feel what you need to feel. Know that we're all in it together. This is the one time where the entire world feels the same.
Yes.
We're all and that it's like unprecedented. We've never had something like this. And then, when you leave the house, instead of deciding to get upset about it, think, this is just the thing that I have to do right now. Hopefully it won't be for long. We kind of have to talk ourselves down from it.
Right.
And then just be more compassionate towards people. We're all having a tough time.
Yeah.
So, if someone seems like they're in a rush, let them go first if you're not in a rush. If someone gets angry, say, I understand. I'm frustrated too. I think that will go a long way.
That's good stuff.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, Katie. You've given us quite a lot to think about and to digest. We really appreciate it. So how can our listeners find you?
Yeah, I have my YouTube channel, just my name, Kati Morton, KatiMorton. I release videos every week. I also have a podcast, Ask Kati Anything, where I answer all mental health questions from my audience.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and my book.
Perfect. And is there a phone or a website address, or is it the YouTube channel? That's the best way.
YouTube's the best, but I do have my website, KatiMorton.com, that will show you all that stuff.
Perfect.
The book is Are You Okay? Right?
Right. With
Yes,
a million subscribers. Unbelievable.
That's right. Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've heard that today.
Yep. I think it's about time, Rob. We got to wrap.
It's about time there. Okay. Well, we're going to say goodbye to Kati Morton, a wonderful therapist. Thank you for coming on the show again, Kati.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Huge fan.
Thank you.
You know,
And Larry.
If any of you have missed part of our show and like to hear us again, you can go to YouTube. We're on YouTube too, brothersonlaw.com.
Yeah, we are.
iTunes. Yeah. And if you have a legal question or a show topic you want to suggest, call us and leave us a message at 800-310-7113. That's 800-310-7113.
All right, that's the number to call, folks. And thank you to all of you for listening in. And please stay safe out there. We do look forward for you to join us again next Saturday at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105. And remember,
let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
Your favor, baby.
Yeah.
The opinions expressed in the Brothers on Law show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal professional legal advice.